Hello, I'm Denise and welcome back to Camping with Emmy. In this episode of Camping with Emmy, I would like to dedicate to my maternal grandmother Millie and my mom Donna, because without them I would not have inherited this beautiful 1903 Singer Treadle sewing machine. So it's been in our family for a very long time. In the late 1940s, my grandmother purchased this at a flea market, and she used it for just basic mending and things like that. And then at some point, it was handed down to my mom, and she had it when I was a little girl. And this is the machine that I learned to sew on. Now, this machine has not been working for about 46, 47 years, but it's always been my dream to restore this to working order again. And finally, my dream is coming true. So in this episode, I'm going to be cleaning and restoring and sewing on this machine for the first time in about 46 years, and I just can't wait. So let's get started. Next, I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol on all of the metal parts of this machine to clean it up, being very careful not to get any on the black lacquer paint finish because it can hurt the paint finish and your decals. On the hand wheel, I started out using a 600 grit wet dry paper. I mean sandpaper. And you want to use the wet dry and you want it to be in the black because this is not going to scratch your finish. Then I'm going to take some, you would typically take 1500 and go over it again, but I only have 2000, so that's what I'm going to use because I have it on hand. This, I'm going to put a little bit of machine oil on it when I go around this one more time. Now, these smaller pieces here that go on your machine, they have been nickel plated, so you don't want to use sandpaper on these. You don't want to take off any more of the plating, but what you want to do is get some Scotch-Brite pads in a medium and more of a lightweight, and these work really well on these pieces. What I typically do is I start out dry with this and get as much of it off as I can with the more abrasive one. And then when I take the finer one, I'm going to put a little bit of machine oil on it, and then I'm just going to go over it one more time to smooth these out. I'm not going to get everything off of all these pieces, but that's okay because I really love a little bit of patina.
Clean this with some alcohol because it seems to cut the oil and goo that is built up on here over the years.
Yes, we should explain that Rick has taken the whole bobbin winder apart to clean it. That wasn't something I felt comfortable taking apart because there were a lot of pieces to it.
I'm pretty scared too.
You are not.
And there's a lot of stuff on here that's not going to come off, and that's okay. But we just want to get stuff that's holding grit, dirt, junk off of here, and make it so that when she goes to wind a bobbin, it will do that. There's a couple little spots on here that are important. This one is there's an eccentric screw on here which forces this serrated plate up into the wheel and out. So you have to adjust this so that it mates in with this screw, because the belt turns it and this has to turn with the belt, and it wasn't doing that. And there was a lot of stuff in between everything, so I'm just trying to, without removing any metal, just get the garbage off. But and then we're just going to put a light coating of oil on everything after we're done. And I also have, I mean, this looks pretty good. I would I'm pretty happy. We'll probably put a little lube in here, and it looks like there's a hole in here. You can put some lube in. You probably would do that periodically when you run the machine. Another lube point right there, ladies, men. Goodness sakes here. So I've got little, I don't even know where this thing went.
Oh, don't even tell me that. You're supposed to remember how this goes back together.
You know how I am anymore.
No, he took pictures with his phone, and I highly recommend if any of you take anything apart on your sewing machine, take pictures of it first, so you know how it goes back together.
Pictures are great. So here's the cam, and this allows the bobbin winder to rotate the thread mover sideways or thing, so that it winds it evenly across the bobbin when you're putting thread on your bobbin. So it's a custom feature that you don't see every day.
No.
So if you look, you can see that as you turn this, it gets farther away from the screw, and then when you turn that up, it tightens up it pushes it together to engage the threads to allow that to turn. And you should only have to set that one time, because this engages in and out with the belt, so this is something you wouldn't adjust very often. Now this is the other piece, and this is what makes rides on this heart-shaped cam, and the spring is supposed to hold it up against the cam. So that's what the spring does, and this just allows it to pivot. So we would just put a little dot of oil on that, just because everything gets with oil around here. Okay, so this is a lower bobbin machine. Some of them have the bobbin up high, but this one is down low. Anyway, I'm just going to put a little oil on it right now. This is what it pivots on and off of. And maybe put a little bit in the hole. Get this snugged up here.
My sewing machine has the beautiful Sphinx decals on it, and I think that it's absolutely beautiful. Now, what you want to use to clean this, the metal part here in the body of your sewing machine, is just sewing machine oil. This will help get any old oil and dirt and grime off of your machine, but it will help to protect the paint and protect the decals as well. to oil all of the pieces that go up and down, any mechanisms that you see move. Now I've done all of the interior ones, but now I'm going to do some more. There's little holes on top of the machine and some on the sides, and these are places where you're also going to add more oil. And I'm also going to be oiling all of the joints and mechanisms that make the treadle go down below and make the wheel spin. We ordered a new belt for this machine because that's part of the reason why it hasn't been sewn on in many years, is because it was missing the belt. So we are in the process of putting a new belt on it. The next step is to mark with a pen where you need to cut the belt, because the belt's large and we're going to cut it to fit.
Alright, we're just going to try to poke a hole through this belt with this wonderful little tool we got here, a little pokey, sharpy, pointy thing. And you just have to be really careful because the thing rolls. Get it started and then slowly hold it from rolling and punch it in. It's through. Bingo. Now we're going to put the staple through the hole and
I have the original bobbin that goes with this machine and it still has thread in it, but I'm sure this thread is very old and we don't want to use it. We also bought a new, this is called the shuttle actually, and this is the bobbin that goes inside it. What's nice about the new bobbins is that there's a little hole at the top that you can stick the thread through, so it makes it a whole lot easier to get your bobbin started with having this little hole, just like you would in a newer machine. So that's very, very handy. All right, I'm a little bit rusty. I haven't done this since I was about 10 or 12 years old. Hopefully, I can remember how this is done. Just like riding a bike. I have not treadled since I was 10 or 12 years old, and I seriously remember how to do it. I'm really excited that this is actually working. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because there is definitely a learning curve to using these treadles if you've never used one, but since I used one as a kid, it just there's a special rhythm to it, and it just came back to me. I'm just so excited. Okay, and now for the moment of truth. We'll see if this sews. I'm sure the tension is probably going to have to be adjusted, but we'll see what we can do here. All right, let's see what we have. Yeah, I mean, it actually looks pretty good. I mean, the tension does need to be adjusted a little bit, but it definitely sewed. And my stitch length might have to be adjusted as well, but I guess I should have used a darker color thread so you could see it better, but it worked, it sews, yay! I learned to sew on this machine when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And the person that taught me how to sew on it was my dad. We had horses, and so my dad would occasionally need to sew up something for them. And so he is the one that taught me how to sew on this. And he's been gone for 25 years now, and so I can't tell you how many wonderful memories it brought back when I was able to sit down and sew on this machine again, and thinking about him and all those years ago when he taught me how to sew on it. When I was in middle school, I was in a play, and we used this sewing machine as a prop. And so it sat in our high school auditorium for a couple of weeks. And unfortunately, during that time, the belt was stolen on the machine. And, this was back before the internet, back before Amazon, and there was no easy way to replace this belt. And so at that time, we just stopped using the machine. It was never sewn on again. So about 25 years ago, when my mom passed the sewing machine on down to me, I used it in my living room as a display table. And I kept the machine, the metal part, tucked inside the cabinet to keep it safe. And it wasn't until this spring when we finished the renovation on my lovely craft room that I'd wanted to display this machine once more, knowing that it was my goal at some point to get this thing up and running again. And I'm so happy to say that I was able to complete that goal. My machine is now working again, and I couldn't be more happy or more excited. And I'm really looking forward to doing some wonderful projects on this machine in the future. On behalf of Rick and myself, we both would like to say how much we appreciate all of you watching our videos. And we love you all, and we will see you all soon. And until that time, bye-bye.